There is just so much to see on a July garden tour that I had to make this a two-part video. So if you haven't had a chance to watch part one, head over to YouTube and watch the first part of this tour. But now we're gonna go ahead and walk through and check out all the beautiful hydrangeas. If you're new to Garden Crossings, we are located in Zeeland, Michigan. We are a zone 5B, 6A. We have a retail garden center as well as mail order. So if there's any plants that you're seeing that you like, you can head on over to gardencrossings.com to check them out and to check out more information. So let's go ahead and walk through our Proven Winners signature garden. Right now we are at our Waterfall garden, which is really packed full of annuals and beautiful hydrangeas, as you're seeing here. So some of the hydrangeas that we're seeing here in this garden, we'll start over there by the arbor, is the Tough Stuff mountain hydrangea. This is absolutely in its prime right now, and you can just see the massive color on this plant. So these flowers can be pink or kind of a purpley blue depending on the acidity of your soil. You can see for us here, pink is the predominant color that is coming through. Also in this bed, we have the incredible blush hydrangeas and the incredible hydrangeas. Both have extra large flower heads and are so beautiful. The thing I like about the incredible hydrangeas is they bloom off of the new growth. So if growing hydrangeas is tricky for you, these are not a tricky variety. You can trim them in the fall or late winter, and again in the spring, and you'll be having beautiful blooms like you're seeing here mid-summer. It's July right now, and these have been blooming now for probably about 3 weeks, and I would anticipate we'll probably get another 3 to 4 weeks out of them. The daisies you're seeing up front, these are the Daisy May leucanthemums. Again, a great midsummer plant that really puts on a ton of color. Kind of as underplantings here, we have some Veronica tucked in. So when the hydrangeas aren't quite so big, these Veronica are blooming. Typically these are blooming in May, so it's really a great companion plant that we are using underneath of our hydrangeas. Making the way around to the front of the waterfall bed, you'll see another mass of pink. That is the Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangea. Again, beautiful display of pink flowers, a little bit smaller than the Incredible series, but just a massive show of color. Up front, we have Begonia Cherry Cordial, which is a new variety for 2023, paired with the Begonia Surefire White. Both of these are part of the Surefire series. And last year when we were doing trials on this Cherry Cordial, we were so impressed with that dark glossy foliage that we just knew we had to do mass planting of it out in our featured flower bed here. Making the way around, we have the Sun Patience. This is the compact hot pink Sun Patience. One thing we do like to use the Sun Patience a lot for is because they don't need fertilizer. So they're really low maintenance. They do like water, but we don't have to worry about keeping them fertilized like we do with the Supertunias. There's some Coleus back there, the Lime Time, and the dark one is Torchlight. There's a few blue argyratums as well. I just love how argyratums look in the garden. Making our way towards the waterfall, you'll see we also have kind of bordered it with the Sun Patience, but have done a mass planting of the Cherry Cordial begonias, and it looks really stunning, especially with all those yellow sunflowers. Looks like we had the gardeners go in and do a little sweep of our phlox. So these really aren't big enough yet to talk about, but those are going to look really pretty behind the spirea once they get more mature into size. They are flowering now, so it looks nice. But as these plants get bigger, they're going to get about 2 to 3 foot tall and about 2 foot wide. So next year, they should really be putting on a fabulous show of color. Suncredible sunflowers are what we like to use up there at the top of the waterfall. And that is because they are just ever blooming sunflowers that really look gorgeous. We get a lot of wind here in this area, so when we're planting, we have to kind of keep strong winds in mind. So these are definitely a plant that can handle the full sun and a lot of wind. Let's go in and take a little closer look there. Just look at all those beautiful yellow blooms. So we kind of did a cluster of plants in this water bed area, or this waterfall area. And again, it's the Torchlight Coleus, the lime thyme coleus, the surefire white begonias, the hot pink sun patience, and the artist blue argyratums, along with the euphorbia diamond snow. So that's really just kind of the plants we chose and have mass planted all around in this garden space. And so far they're doing pretty nice. The only thing I wish that we may have done different was in the middle of the waterfall there. That's kind of a tricky spot. It's either really dry or really wet, and we never know from year to year what it's going to be. So I really wish we had poked a few more of the hot pink sun patience in the center, because I think that would have really kind of helped to set that center area off a little bit better. So something I need to take note of for next year. There's always next year. So this really is the only little splash of shade we have in this garden, is underneath this tree. So what did we plant under here? There's some pulmonaria, there's some ligularia, and that's about it. A couple hostas, but that's really all that we planted for shade plants. So if we want shade plants in this garden, we have to kind of test the elements and put them in a full sun location. So just set back off this front border of annuals, we have a mass planting of the Pennisetum rubrum grass, which is an annual grass. But the reason why we like to plant this one is because of its burgundy foliage. And it's so beautiful adding grass in the garden, just watching it just sway in the breeze. Behind it is a mass planting of the Going Bananas daylilies, which are easier seen from the inside of the garden because you can see the grass is just sort of covering up the blooms. And then planted behind those daylilies is the blue chip butterfly bush. So they haven't started blooming yet, but once they do, it's going to be a massive sea of purple back there, which is really complementary with the yellow of the Going Bananas daylilies. So I know this seems obvious to some of us, but to not all of us. Did you know that daylilies, the flowers, they last one day? Thus the name daylily. It's okay to admit if you didn't know that. It's kind of an interesting, fun fact, I think, that for those of you who don't know, now you do. All right, we're gonna head on over to our south bed and check out what's blooming over yonder way. As we head up to the south garden bed, this is full of annuals, perennials, and shrubs. This bed has been here for about 5 years now. And as you saw in the previous video, I had talked about the bed on the north side taking a while to get started. That is also true of this particular bed. The first 3 years were kind of a struggle and things didn't look good. But now that we're into year 5 or so, things are really taking off and putting on a fabulous show. So what are we seeing here in this garden? We have the verbena meteor showers, which is a beautiful purple flower there. That's a great plant for butterflies. So if you're looking for a great pollinator plant that the butterflies will love, meteor showers are a must. We also have the sedum lemon coral lining the front. This is an annual. Lemon coral is a beautiful splash of chartreuse yellow in the garden, and I think it makes a great border. It just kind of really draws your eyes in, and yeah, it brings a lot of attention into the space. Got some Rebeckia there, Rebeckia Gold Star. The white we have in here is the Sun Patience White, which again is a great splash of color, especially at night. Here we have some more white. This is the Mini Vista White Supertunia. And I mention it a lot. You need to use white. It just gives you a beautiful glow at night. Big, massive planting there of Veronica. That's the Veronica Ever After. Beautiful periwinkle blooms. The pollinators are really enjoying it right now. A nice massive color. Vista Paradise is a plant you can't go wrong with. And to be honest, if it's any Vista, you can't go wrong. One plant will cover up to 3 foot of space and just give you this beautiful massive color. Mixed in with it, we have some of the Aromance Mulberry Nemesia, which typically is not a plant I would plant in full sun, or to be honest, it's not a plant I would have ever planted. But we did a trial last year and they did fabulous. So I said we need to do more and we need to do mass, and they are doing gorgeous. Making our way around this garden bed, here we have a planting of Supertunia Mini Vista White paired with Supertunia Mini Vista Midnight. Again, a great pairing. I think the Midnight, it's a very dark plant, so I do think it needs to be paired with something bright or light to really set it off and to make it show in the garden. Behind it is the Spirea candy corn. Great foliage, great color. This is also going to flower with pink flowers, so that adds just a really, again, a bright splash to the garden. In the back there, you're seeing more daylilies. Those are the Going Bananas daylilies. Those are a repeat bloomer, so they bloom virtually all summer long. Some hydrangeas in this bed too. We had to make sure that we were going to be using more of the compact variety of hydrangeas. And here we did a grouping of 3. Beautiful bright pink. I'm going to go in and take a look at the tag because I want to say they're mini mauvette, but I don't know. Yeah, actually these are the mini mauvettes. So very compact in size, about 2 foot tall, 2 foot wide. Just a great plant if you want to plunk them into kind of more of a smaller space in your garden. We also have a mass planting of Supertunia Vista bubblegum, which I think is the plant that gets everybody started. If there is one plant in the Supertunia family you need to start with, my opinion, it is bubblegum, because this is just the staple to any annual in the garden. One plant can get 3 foot wide, and just look at the color. A lot of color from not a lot of plant. Here we have another Schwartz hydrangea. This is the Invincible Wee White, about 18 inches tall by about 2 foot wide. So again, very compact habit and just loaded with flowers. One of the unique plants I think that's in this garden that maybe doesn't get talked about much is the Nephofia, or the red hot pokers. So the one off to the left is the Pyromania Backdraft, a beautiful orange. Up front is Pyromania Rockets Red Glare, which I just love the color of that Rockets Red Glare. And these are in their prime right now. Like I couldn't have picked a better day to show you these beautiful Nephofia. In the back there is the Orange Blaze, which again is a just really crisp, clean orange coloration. We've got a trio of the Pugster Butterfly Bush. They're not starting yet, but look at all those buds. Soon we're going to have beautiful, huge Pugster butterfly flowers. Here's one that's actually blooming. This is Pugster Now Pinker. So you can just see the massive size of these flowers. Not a very big plant, but very, very large blooms. Going Bananas. I feel like I'm just circled in Going Bananas right now, but man, isn't that a pretty yellow? And up against the pink, simply stunning. Here we have the Summerific Hibiscus. So this plant is one that can create some issues for me in the spring. So it's one of the last things to emerge, usually end of May, beginning of June here in Michigan. So oftentimes people will call me and say my plant is dead, but I'm like, no, don't worry, it's going to show up, and it always does. So they're super late to start in the season, but once they start, they explode. Look at this plant. It just started to poke through the ground the beginning of June. It's mid-July right now. It's huge, and it even is loaded with buds. So here you can see in the center there's some buds. Here's some bigger buds. So this plant is going to be blooming with huge dinner plate red blooms, and they look absolutely gorgeous up against this near black foliage of the Summerific hardy hibiscus. What else do we have? Phlox is starting. Here we have a beautiful tall phlox. This is the ultraviolet phlox. It is planted under a tree, but it does get plenty of sun. I would recommend planting these in a full sun area. Don't go in a part shade area, because you probably won't see the flower power that you would see if you planted them in full sun. But it is a super vibrant pink color. Planted around this birch tree, we did the Gembox holly. These are an evergreen plant. Not a lot of what's out in this garden is evergreen, so we had to be intentional about putting some things in that were evergreen, so we'd always have some color. So you can see they're just cute little mounds. great alternative boxwood. If you would plant boxwood in your garden, this is a great alternative. Few hostas enjoying the shade here. This is Hosta Love Story, which is a new hosta from Proven Winners. It's super small right now, but it's going to get much larger. More going bananas. And here we have a trio of coneflowers. We have the Purple Emperor, which is the purple. We have the Adobe Orange, and then we have the Canary Feathers, which is the yellow. Really beautiful color grouping. Making our way to the back side of this garden, you can see we did a lot of the planting of the Supertunia Mini Vista Midnight, the Supertunia Mini Vista White, and then the Supertunia Persimmon, which I think that persimmon up against that midnight really does help that midnight pop in color and look really nice. So this is a hydrangea I'm excited to see bloom. This is the Quickfire Fab. It's got some nice size to it finally this year. So this will be a really pretty one as it starts to flower up. I'll be sure to keep you updated with its coloration. But Quickfire is one of the earlier blooming panicle hydrangeas. And this one looks to be certainly the case. Quickfire was the earliest, and I think this Quickfire Fab is going to be right up there with an early blooming panicle. So for winter color, I did mention we had some of those gem box. We also have Arctic Fire Red and Arctic Fire Yellow, which are dogwoods. So this time of year, there's really not doing a whole lot of foliage, not a lot of flower or interest. But the thing with these plants that's nice is in the winter, they're going to have the red twigs on them and are going to be perfect for cuttings for like my winter porch planters. So waiting for the winter and we'll have gorgeous red twigs. This one here, you can see it's got more of a flat habit. It's got yellow twigs. Personally, I like the red twigs better, but it's always nice to have a little bit of yellow in the mix as well. So this bed here was just put up, the split rail fence, this spring. And for this year anyhow, we're just doing a mass planting of the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum, Supertunia Paradise. There's some salvia in there as well, and then a little bit of the Supertunia Mini Vista White. So it really just creates a mass for the eye as the traffic is going past. This area here was planted about a month ago, and we did the North Pole Arborvitae to kind of block out the water tower or the water pump house back there. And then Rod did a bunch of hydrangeas. So because he had plenty of space, he's like, I don't want to leave open space. So I want to do a mass planting of something. And we thought that hydrangeas would just be a pretty easy plant to plant here, give it a nice consistent look. So the plants that are in here are the Little Lime Punch. There's also the Pufferfish Hydrangea. And right now you can't tell the difference between any of them. So we'll have to wait until they bloom to really show you the difference. And then of course the little Quickfire. So ideally this space, these hydrangeas will kind of bloom all at different times so that we'll have color consistently from hopefully around mid-summer, maybe the end of July through the fall. So excited to watch as this area starts to take shape and put on color and grow over the years. So the biggest question will be if the deer find us, because we'll certainly know on the North Pole Arborvitae because deer do love those plants. We have deer in the area, but we really haven't had issues with them in the gardens. So here's to fingers crossed that they leave those arborvitaes alone.
Thanks for walking through the garden with us today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.